Hello and welcome to Ula Tea Leaf Readings. My name is Lenor and today I'm going to be reading your tea leaves. This is a horoscope for Scorpio. If Scorpio is your solar, lunar, ascendant/rising sign, then this is a message for you. All right, let's get started. Let's see. Let's see what these tea leaves have to say. Okay. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you. It is the afternoon here. And so you might hear my family in the back there. In the background of the the video playing and stuff, so bear with me. I'm trying to get these readings done early sometimes, so I'm not going to bed at like midnight. Okay, so the card we have today for this reading is the Princess of Discs. One of my favorites. I have been trying to avoid just holding it up because I know it can get a little boring, and you can see my fingers are full of dirt, so excuse me on that. I was out in the garden once again every day pretty much, but this beautiful earthy a pregnant princess warrior what was I going to say? Warrioress. Warrior. And the colors are beautiful and earthy, as it is a coins, discs, pentacles. These are earthy sign or earthy suit. So this is a card that is all about love, sexuality, warmth, fullness, creating life, looking for kind of emotional security, creating emotional security. This is kind of interesting when in these archetypes of the maiden becoming the mother becoming, the queen, and the queen becoming kind of the crone. Especially between the maiden and the mother, sometimes the mother and the queen, there's just a lot of wisdom that is transmuted during these periods of time. A lot when you go into a stage of creation, the beginning stages, but also later in the execution, when you have some understanding of how things work, of all of these preconceived notions that you have had, the things that you've been told, and then you experience firsthand in your own individual experience, you become of a deeper wisdom. Okay, you can read all the books, you can, listen to all the lectures, go to all the classes, but practical experience within these creative places is so much different, right? That's kind of like the difference between the historian of art and the artist. I mean, there are a lot of others, but you can look, you can experience art, but then when you're making art, when you're creating a business, creating a home, creating life is much different than what we see in the movies, right? Or what we're taught, even in the best classes, the best baby classes. Okay. So I want to Look at this one, and this is actually makes a lot of sense to what we're talking about to some degree. Okay, I see a little person, looks kind of short, looks like me kind of a bit, little, I'm very short. You obviously don't know that maybe, but I am quite short, around 5 foot. So, we also have the little baby carriage, the little trolley, as my daughter likes to call them. She's really into like British programming right now. And so this is definitely a sign. I'm not taking this as fertility, okay, just off the bat. What I'm thinking that this is kind of going through a period of reminiscing, some nostalgia maybe, really focused on looking back into your childhood. I feel like there has been some difficult feelings surrounding your relationship with your parents, parental figures, caretakers, somebody who raised you. Okay. And I think that this was when you were fairly young. I feel that it's been something that I don't know what reason this has come up. Maybe it's because of an anniversary. Maybe it's Mother's Day, Father's Day, Memorial Day. A lot of reasons to kind of think about those who have passed or those times from before you were all grown up, right? So I think that there's kind of a bittersweetness to these times for you. I mean, we all do it, right? We all kind of look back on our youth, think about it, mull over some of the things. Sometimes we lament, sometimes we rejoice, sometimes we, really romanticize aspects. And, that's all normal. That's, I think that's just kind of the human condition in some ways, that we just really are so attached to our self-mythology. It's, it's the one quote unquote true story that we know because we were there. Does that mean that we were always, clear on our perspectives? I don't know. Does that mean that we understood, especially when we were young, what was actually going on? I know that we remember how things made us feel. That's for me anyways, that's a big thing about my childhood. I don't remember a lot of the details of things, but I remember how people made me feel. I remember how situations made me feel. I have impressions more than memories. And I also, full disclosure, I have CPTSD, so that, alters your memory a little bit. But I think that it's not uncommon, though, for people to, you carry some really distinct memories, and then a lot of the other stuff kind of becomes blurrier and blurrier as time goes on, which makes sense. We're creating new memories all the time. And so I think that this person in your life who did care for you, and I think that there is, obviously some amount of fondness, love, appreciation, but there was also some amount of devastation. I see this finger kind of pointing here, okay? I feel like maybe you had somebody who was raising you that was fairly stern, maybe pretty stoic, maybe they were overly emotional, but I almost kind of think that it was like you were constantly trying to like run up to them and really like, you know, be connected with. They look you in the eyes and speak to you, ask you about your input, involve you in the situation that's going on, the conversation, letting you know that you are part of the family, not just in, you know, the sense that, oh, you're the child in the family, but that you have a voice even from a young age. You get to make decisions, what you think is important to us. But I think that wasn't necessarily always the case. And I think that maybe there was some amount of like a more traditional kind of dynamic within your family. And I think that this is kind of a little bit, although you maybe appreciate parts of it, of course, right? We all, no matter if we had really terrible childhoods or not, we appreciate parts of our childhood, definitely. So I don't think this is like necessarily a case of like it being the worst kind of thing that ever happened in your life, but I do think that there were missed opportunities to connect deeply with this caretaker. And that is something that you really do think about a lot. Now, I will say, and I want to kind of turn this as I'm saying this, I think that, you know, though this was difficult for you, I'm just kind of, though this has been difficult for you, I was looking at this one and I'm like, I just got to check. I got to spin it just a moment. But I see that, and this is a person with their arms out, and I feel that they're holding, it almost looks like they're holding two vacuums, one in each arm, okay? And I see maybe a little child over here, and this looks like a dog, okay? And maybe another little child with a dog. I believe that because, and I'm not saying, listen, I'm not disparaging your parents or your caretaker at all. We all, you know, as parents have our faults. I mean, we all do. But I do think that where you felt things did not click between the two of you, where there was trouble, where you maybe at times felt alienated, unaccepted, where some of the things maybe were harsh, in your own life going forward as you grew up, maybe you had children, maybe you did not. It doesn't really matter. You've interacted with other human beings over the years. You maybe have been like a parent to other people, or a mentor, or a good friend. But you may be also a parent. And what it seems like is that you have spent a lot of time really, really trying to not only accept how you were raised, some of the things that happened during your formative years, but you have tried to do better, right? You have tried to heal some of the cycles, tried to stop some of the generational shortcomings, maybe even abuses, the things that made you feel terribly as a child. You don't forget those things, but you have a choice to actively not repeat them. You have to be mindful, because some of this stuff, it's written into us. It gets, it is quite literally our neural pathways are kind of mapped out in such a way, depending on the things that go on when we are newborns, infants, young children. And so even if you, and I am guilty of this as well, even if you had said, I would never do this with my child, I would never, lose my patience, I would never, one for me was putting my daughter on timeout. I thought I'm going to be like one of those real crunchy parents. I'm going to be a very gentle, it's a style of parenting, gentle parenting. I'm going to let her make all of her decisions, her own decisions, as long as she's not in harm's way. Well, you know what? There have been times where I have absolutely been to the last of my energy and, put her on timeout for a couple minutes. And I thought, I would never do this. Well, some of these things are reactions that, and this is actually, I don't know how, I'm not going to tell you how to parent, but I'm just giving you a example. I don't think that, free range parenting would work for us, is basically, all of our children are different, need different things. We have found that there needs to be more, not discipline, but there needs to be structure in our household. And so, I think for me growing up, it was very little structure, a lot of discipline, a lot of yelling, a lot of, just disengaging with us children. And so I have had to actively remember to unremember some of that stuff, those things that were ingrained into me. And so we have to do that. And I think that that's been a big focus of your life. I think that has been something that you have been thinking about constantly, in how you speak to people, how you engage, how you treat people. I think that respecting one another is a big priority to you. You are also somebody who multitasks. You take on so much, and I think that comes in with these two hands. You do as much as you can and then more. And I think that a lot of that has to do with where you felt, you just were not able to relate to the elders of your life on a deep level like you wanted to. And maybe they had to work all the time. Maybe, you grew up going to daycare or another family member's house or whatever it is. But there was, and of course, none of these things are wrong. But, we still remember how we felt when we were young. I mean, that stuff never goes away. If it is reasonable or not, right? You just feel how you feel. And so I think you've kind of overcompensated in some areas. Other ways, you've just worked so hard to change the way that the next generation is going to be raised, right? And so I applaud you for that. That is very hard work. It is tiresome. And, sometimes it can be super heartbreaking because you wonder how were we as a generation kind of raised by these people who are otherwise usually pretty wonderful people. The way that people raised people before, some of that stuff, it doesn't make sense anymore, right? And some of it really makes sense, and now we don't do that, so it's always shifting, of course. But I feel like there's a little bit of heartbreak in that because you have devoted your life to making the world better than you received it. And I think that's the big thing. I also think with this dog here, you have been quite a guardian of younger people, of the next generation. I almost wonder if you have done some kind of like activism, or maybe you are in social work, or some kind of medical field, a psychologist or something, maybe in childcare. But I think that you have really made it such a passion in your life to make sure that these children who, maybe they're older now, maybe you have dealt with many generations at this point, multiple generations. But whatever it is, I think that you really, really, really are, just a patron of keeping people safe and making the world better. And doing that from your personal life outward to your personal relationships, to your small community, your direct community, and out into the larger community. And, it's so important to understand that that's where the healing and growth needs to happen. You make such a deep change just really by working within your own life to evolve yourself and evolve the dynamic between your family members, your friends, your chosen community, the community that you live in, and so on. These are the places where we really, really can make a difference. And I feel that you have been somebody that has really put a lot of work into it. So thank you. Okay. Now, Pudgy, come on. He's on this new thing where he loves hitting the camera when he jumps down right with his tail. Okay, now we have here this one. Come here. We have the marigold right here. The marigold is so important to me. It's a I grew up with them in my life. I had a grandfather who passed away, who was really into growing marigolds, and now my daughter grows them, and I'm so excited. She last year was the first time, and she or maybe it was the year before, I can't remember, but the last couple of years, and she she's so good at growing things already, and she's only 3. Here I am, bragging about my daughter. But I am so excited for her that she enjoys the flowers and the bugs and the garden and stuff. And so anyways, when I see a marigold, I think of, the sun, but I also think of that kind of endless and euphoric connection to something like agape, but it's the consciousness. It's the opening of the mysteries, the eternal, blazing heart of this kind of divine faith in the universe. Come on, get down. Thank you. In the universe and your chosen spiritual path, whatever that looks like. It does not have to include any kind of deities or anything like that, any kind of, superstition or paranormal or any of that stuff. But just really believing in you are a part of something greater, not only than just you, but just something, that is expansive and just a sense. I'm just keep thinking of the sense of eternal love and growth and evolution and so much that energy of the Princess of Discs, just you know, an openness to something profound, something great. You know, even when you get stuck in these places that it feels like, you know, you're spinning your wheels in the mud and you can't get any traction. Come on. Pudgy, I really wish you wouldn't do that, my friend. There's still something greater out there that will support you and continue to support you, you know, without condition. And not only is it kind of, you know, we think of this divinity, this, you know, higher intelligence, this God source or whatever, as something that is other than us, that we feel othered from it. But, you know, when we can get into a place, and this reminds me of this as I look at the marigolds, because they're so beautiful and they have so many petals and they're just, you know, rich and vibrant. And anyways, that we are part of that divine consciousness as much as anything else. It, you know, it not only does it flow through us, but we are of it, and it is of us, right? And so there is this everlasting and holy mirroring, this kind of fractal mirroring throughout everything. And to come back to remember that is so much, you know, a part of our immediate now, is a blessing. And I think that in this, you know, this period of time where you are kind of going over some of those old things, you are also reminded of your many experiences with the divine, with that thing that, you know, reveals itself to you. The experiences you've had that were like, okay, now I get it. I get it. This is what people have been talking about, right? So I think that, you know, this is very much active and alive in you right now. Something that is showing up in this beautiful side section here, this emotional psychic area. Now we also have, and I was looking, it looks like maybe a U. Okay, so some name with a U, possibly a sacred word or utterance with a U. We also have a U right here, so that seems important. Excuse me. My throat is making noises. I had a bit of pop earlier. And usually I don't drink pop very often, but never before when I'm going to do a reading. But then I thought we're going to do this early so I can spend some extra time with my husband tonight and maybe watch a TV show. We haven't gotten to watch any of our shows lately. We've been so busy. All right, let's see. Okay. And I just want to look at this. This one is so interesting to me. It looks like somebody in some kind of ritual costume. It reminds me of, you know, something from the Americas. Maybe like, I don't know exactly. I don't know. I won't. Although I am Indigenous American, I'm Choctaw, I won't lie to you and tell you that I have a lot of deep knowledge of the sacred, you know, dressings, and but they're beautiful. They're beautiful. And so anyways, I hope that, honestly, I do hope that this is something akin to like a buffalo spirit, which has been very active in my personal life. I just saw some American bison, which we also do call buffalo, although that's kind of a misnomer. But I saw some just the other day. It is one of my totem animals, and just a sign of resilience. And then when it is kind of this humanoid wearing the kind of bison, to me this is deep, that this is some kind of guidance from this, by the spirit guide, by spirit guide maybe, or just kind of, it's the consciousness of this animal, the attributes of this animal, the essence coming through in the form of a medium, or something like, and I don't mean a medium like a clairvoyant medium, but just somebody going in between, somebody who is kind of the messenger or the guide, the runner. And so I feel like you are, I just, from this whole thing, I feel like you're in a place where you are kind of getting ready to have some kind of deep spiritual event happen. This might be related to plant medicine. This might be something that just is occurring through, through patterns, synchronicities, dreams, visions, these kinds of things. We obviously do not need things that alter us to experience any kind, sacred revelation or this kind of thing. Maybe though you are involved in some kind of ceremony, operation, ritual, something like this. Whatever it is, it seems quite strong. Seeing a figure like this, to me, really means that it is revealing itself to you very clearly. I remember I used to have this cycle of experiences with what I called the blue man, and I had a lot of visions for, maybe 2 or 3 years, where I would have kind of these otherworldly entities visiting me in kind of unprovoked visions, usually in sleep states or near sleep states. And a lot of it was like about educating me, showing me things, taking me somewhere and showing me how things worked, the systems that were involved, and identifying different things for me. And this particular intelligence, the blue man, was taking me to kind of these other worlds, like lunar kind of landscapes, to show me, and I won't say exactly what it was, but it was very immersive, and it felt like we would sit and talk and some of these experiences, they feel like people who were, just as real as like friendships I have had with other human beings in my waking life. And so I feel like for you, this is the kind of thing that is going to be happening. Now, I figure this probably will be something like a dream realm, this is, I mean, for me in particular, this is where a lot of my work happens. A lot of my visitations, a lot of my experiences, collaborations, that kind of thing, they happen in my dream spaces, my interior landscapes via the dream windows. So I think look for this and, you know, kind of make sure that you're writing down some of the stuff that's happening so that you maybe later on can look back and kind of identify some of the patterns, some of the things that were conveyed to you. Sometimes it happens, we experience it, and it doesn't make any sense really. There's no context to what's going on. But then months, years later, you look back and you're like, oh my gosh, that's related to this other thing that I, you know, experienced, and this information makes so much more sense to me right now. So it's always good to, you know, do some kind of magical records, diaries, journals, this kind of thing. And I'm sorry, I have cat hair on there. Okay, so I want to look at this really quick, and I feel like it's just, I see this little person right here. And I feel like that just kind of walking through this landscape full of boulders and kind of finding your way through. It almost reminds me of being at the ocean when you go tide pooling, when the tide is out. And I feel like you are just walking through this beautiful landscape, and there are all kinds of things to look at, and just stopping and really, you know, peering into these beautiful pools of memory and feeling and impression. And I think that this is a wonderful time for that. I feel like you are going to have some really interesting growth here, some really profound takeaway. And, you know, I hope that this is, you know, it's not everything has to be productive, right? That's not what life is about. But I do hope that this is productive for you emotionally and spiritually, which I do think it will be. Okay, so I've been going on and on. This is a long reading. I appreciate you spending this time with me, allowing me to bring you these messages. I'm always so honored to be able to do so. And if you'd be so kind as to like the video, it helps us get into the algorithm. We just came up on 10K subscribers, so I want to thank each and every one of you. If you have not subscribed, please think about doing that. You can hit the little bell. It'll let you know when the next videos come out. Other than that, if you want to leave a message, a comment, I get back to them as soon as I can. I read every single one of them. I appreciate every single one of them, and I definitely will get back to each one. It just takes me a day or two sometimes. Sometimes it's like immediate, like within 5 minutes, but other times it takes, you know, 20 hours or whatever. It just depends on what's going on over here in this household. All right. I want to thank you, and we will talk again really soon, Scorpio.